Omitting joy. Continue as in the summary and emptiness section of the first type of thought. Here ends the fifth type of thought. Type 6. Which are the states that are good? When a good thought concerning the sensuous universe has arisen, accompanied by disinterestedness, associated with knowledge, prompted by a conscious motive, and having, as its object, a sight, a sound, a smell, a taste, a touch, a mental state, or whatnot, then there is contact, etc. Continue as in the fifth type of thought. Here ends the sixth type of thought. Type 7. Which are the states that are good? When a good thought concerning the sensuous universe has arisen, accompanied by disinterestedness, disconnected with knowledge, and having, as its object, a sight, a sound, a smell, a taste, a touch, a mental state, or whatnot, then there is contact, etc. Continue as in the third type of thought, substituting disinterestedness for joy and ease, the faculty of disinterestedness for that of happiness, and fourfold for fivefold jhana. Summary. And now, on that occasion the skandhas are 4. Etc. Etc. Continue as in the third type of thought, substituting fourfold for fivefold jhana. What on that occasion is the skandha of syntheses? The content of this skandha is the same as in the third type of thought, with the further omission of joy. Continue as in the first type of thought. Here ends the seventh type of thought. Type 8. Which are the states that are good? When a good thought concerning the sensuous universe has arisen, accompanied by disinterestedness, disconnected with knowledge, prompted by a conscious motive, and having, as its object, a sight, a sound, a smell, a taste, a touch, a mental state, or whatnot, then there is contact, etc. Continue as in the seventh type of thought. Here ends the eighth type of thought. End of chapter I. On the 8 main types of thought concerning the sensuous universe. Here ends the second portion for recitation. Footnotes. The brackets enclosing this and all other headings indicate that the latter have been transposed from the position they occupy in the text. There each heading stands at the end of its section. See Introduction. Ibid. Nanasampayodani. According to the Sai, a good thought deserves to be thus distinguished on 3 grounds. From the karma it produces, from the maturity of the faculties it involves, and from the remoteness of mental and moral infirmity which it implies. Sampayodam, lit. Convocade, is, in the Kathavathu, quoted by the Sai, described as including the following relations: concomitant, connate, contiguous, having a common origin, a common cessation, a common basis or embodiment, a common object of attention. In the present work the term is subsequently rendered by connected, e.g. in, etc. The preceding adjectival phrase, somatasasahagatam, which I have rendered accompanied by happiness, is virtually declared by the Sai to be here equivalent to somatasasampayodam, inasmuch as it is to be interpreted in its fullest intention. Of its 5 distinguishable shades of meaning, the one here selected is that of conjoined. And of the 4 distinguishable connotations of conjoined, the one here selected is that of connate. Hence accompanied by means here connate. And further, inasmuch as the concomitance is not between 2 corporeal phenomena, or between a corporeal and an incorporeal phenomenon, it is of that persistent and thoroughgoing kind, persisting beyond the common origin, which is described under the word associated. Thus far the intricate Buddhaghosa. But I have yet to discover any attempt to analyze the laws governing the process of association between mental states, such as we first find in Aristotle. On happiness, c. Ruparamanam, Sadaramanam, etc. i.e., either as a present sensation or as a representative image relating to the past or future. In the language of Hume, as an impression or as an idea. In the more comprehensive German term, as Vorstellung. See Introduction. Literally, an object that is tangible, the standard Pali term. Dhammaramanam, the object, that is, of representative imagination or ideation, just as a thing seen is the object of sight. Buddhaghosa rejects the opinion that a Dhammaramanam is something outside the range of the senses, and cites M.I. where Sariputta declares that, whereas each sense has its specific field, the mano has all these 5 fields as its scope. At the moment when an object enters the door of the eye or other sense, it enters also the door of the ideating faculty causing the consciousness, or one's being, to vibrate, just as the alighting bird, at the same moment, strikes the bough and casts a shadow. As we might say, presentative cognition is invariably accompanied by representative cognition. Then, in the course of the mental undulations arising through this disturbance by way of sense impact, one of these 8 psychoses termed Mahasiddhini may emerge. But in pure representative cognition there is no process of sensory stimulation, as when we recall past sense experience. The process of representation is illustrated in detail, and completes an interesting essay in ancient psychology. In the case of seeing, hearing, and smell, past pleasant sensations are described as being simply revived during a subsequent state of repose. In the case of taste and touch, it is present disagreeable sensations which suggest certain contrasted experience in the past. But the commentator is not here interested in association by contrast as such. Let, or whatever object the thought is about. The gist of the somewhat obscure comment is that, while no new class of objects is here to be understood over and above those of present or past sensations, there is no serial or numerical order in which these become material for thought. According to Buddhaghosa, the states numbered Thursiv 6 are considered as equivalents of those numbered XXXI3 respectively, but as taken under another aspect. In the prior enumeration the threefold root of good is set out. In the latter, reference to the path of karma is understood. 9 other states, according to the Psi, are here implied as factors in this psychosis, viz. Desire, resolve, attention, equanimity, pity, sympathy, abstinence from evil conduct in act, speech, and mode of livelihood. And the opening words of this and similar supplementary clauses in the text are coined into a technical term, yavapanika, the or whatever states, to signify such groups. The Psi then defines the 9. Desire, qualified as orthodox desire, to distinguish it from ethically undesirable desire, is the wish to act, the stretching forth the hand of the mind to grasp the object in idea. Resolve is steadfastness, decision, the being unshaken as a pillar. Attention is movement, direction of the mind, confronting the object. Equanimity, lit. The mean state, is the being borne along evenly, without defect or excess, without partiality. Pity and sympathy are described in Et Sec. The last 3 give those 3 factors of the eightfold path unrepresented in the analysis of the thought. It is not without interest to note that in this supplementary category all the purely psychological states are wholly, or at least mainly, volitional or emotional. Touch or contact must be understood in a very general sense, as the outcome of 3 conditions. An impinging sentient organ, an impinging agency conceived as external to the sentient organ, an impact or collision. The similes in Mill of the rams and the symbols are quoted in the Psi. The eye and its object are the usual illustration, but the representative imagination and its object are included as proceeding by way of contact, only without impact. The real causal connection in every case, so I understand the, to me, obscurely worded comment to say, is mental, even though we speak of an external agency, just as when lac melts with heat we speak of hot coals as the cause, though the heat is in the lac's own tissue. Contact is given priority of place, as standing for the inception of the thought, and as being the sine qua non of all the allied states, conditioning them much as the roof tree of a storied house supports all the other combinations of material. Vedana is a term of very general import, meaning sentience or reaction, bodily or mental, on contact or impression. Sensation is scarcely so loyal a rendering as feeling. For though Vedana is often qualified as born of the contact in sense activity, it is always defined generally as consisting of the three species: pleasure, pain, and neutral feeling. A hedonistic aspect to which the term feeling is alone adequate. Moreover, it covers representative feeling. This general psychical aspect of Vedana, as distinct from sensations localized bodily, e.g. toothache, is probably emphasized by the term mental in the answer. The Sai points out that by this expression bodily pleasure is eliminated. It also illustrates the general scope of Vedana by the simile of a cook who, after preparing a number of dishes for his lord, tastes each critically to test them, the lord partaking of whichever he pleases. The cook represents all the associated states in the thought complex, each functioning in one specific way. Vedana, the master, enjoys the essence of the object as a whole. On the remainder of the compound term, see. And on the hedonistic expressions in the answer, see. Sito samphasajam. Vedayatam. The latter term is, more literally, that which is felt, das empfunden. Sito, situm are used interchangeably in the Sai. On these terms, the contact is that between idea or object and thought, or the ideating agency, conceived as analogous to the impact between sense organ and sense object. In consequence of this contact or presentation, emotional affection arises in consciousness. The apparently capricious way in which the intention of the term sana is varied in the Pitakas makes it difficult to assign any one adequate English rendering. In the Mahavdala Sutta and elsewhere it is explained as the relatively simple form of intellection or cognition which consists in the discernment, recognition, assimilation of sensations, e.g. of colors, as blue, etc. The process termed in modern English psychology sense perception. Except that it is not quite clear that, in Buddhist psychology, as in English, the perception is made only on occasion of sense stimulation. The answer, indeed, in R alludes to representative activity only. In the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, however, sana stands for the intellectual realization of a number of highly complex concepts, such as impermanence, non-substantiality, etc. In the Pathapada Sutta, again, the sana discussed is clearly what we should call consciousness, whether as opposed to the unconsciousness of trance, or as the raw material of gnanam, or as conceivably distinct from the soul or ego. Lastly, in a more popular sense the term is used, notably in the Jatakas and in commentators' similes, for sign, mark, or token. Here, if we follow the Sai Sale Tua means simply that sense perception which discerns, recognizes and gives class reference to, the impressions of sense. Its procedure is likened to the carpenter's recognition of certain woods by the mark he had made on each, to the treasurer's specifying certain articles of jewelry by the ticket on each, to the wild animal's discernment in the scarecrow of the work of man. The essence of sana is said to be recognition by way of a mark. In this notion of mark and